The emergency broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. The Vethkar swarm had awakened from their 1,000-year hibernation cycle. Billions of insectoid creatures moved across star systems like a plague of locusts. They consumed everything in their path. Planets, moons, asteroid fields, and even the stars themselves became food for their endless hunger. Ambassador Chen Wei stood before the Grand Council of the Galactic Federation. The chamber was enormous. Representatives from over 300 species sat in their designated pods. Blue lights illuminated the proceedings as holographic displays showed the approaching swarm. The Vethkar will reach human space in 47 standard cycles, Chen Wei announced. His voice was calm but urgent. Earth requests immediate military support from the Federation. Our colonies are in their direct path. Silence fell over the council. The Zalari representative, a tall being with silver scales and 4 arms, rose from his seat. High Chancellor Vorath was the most powerful voice in the Federation. His species had led the Alliance for over 10,000 years. Ambassador Chen Wei, Vorath began, his translator converting his words into human language. The Federation acknowledges humanity's situation. However, we must consider our own survival. Chen Wei felt his stomach drop. He had expected resistance, but not complete dismissal. High Chancellor, with respect, humanity has been a Federation member for only 2 centuries. But we have contributed soldiers, resources, and technology to every major conflict. We have earned the right to protection. Vorath's scales shifted colors. It was a sign of discomfort among his kind. The Vethkar are not an ordinary threat, Ambassador. Our records show their last awakening destroyed 47 civilizations. The Federation barely survived. We lost 3 founding species. Another representative spoke up. This was Councillor Trin of the Nethkai, a gaseous being contained within a specialized suit. We sympathize with humanity's position. Truly, we do. But our fleets are needed to protect the core systems. We cannot spare ships for the outer territories. You cannot spare ships? Chen Wei's voice rose slightly. There are 14 billion humans living in those outer territories. My people have families, children, and dreams. You would abandon them? The council members exchanged glances. Some looked away in shame. Others showed no emotion at all. A few even seemed relieved that humanity would be the first target. Vorath spoke again. The Federation offers humanity a choice. You may evacuate your populations to designated refugee zones within core space. We will provide transport vessels and temporary housing. Your species can rebuild once the swarm passes. Chen Wei stood silent for a long moment. He thought about his daughter on Mars. He thought about his parents in the Beijing arcology on Earth. He thought about the billions who called human space their home. And our worlds? Our infrastructure? Everything we have built over 5 centuries of space exploration? The Vethkar will consume it, Councillor Trin admitted. This is unfortunate, but unavoidable. We are sorry, Ambassador. Chen Wei closed his eyes. He had come to this chamber with hope. He had believed in the Federation's promises of unity and mutual defense. Now he understood the truth. The Federation protected its core members. The newer species were expendable. I will relay your decision to Earth Command, Chen Wei said quietly. But I want this council to remember something. Humanity did not survive its birth among the stars by accepting extinction. We will not start now. He turned and walked out of the chamber. The doors closed behind him with a soft sound. Some council members whispered among themselves. Others simply returned to their other concerns. The human problem was no longer their responsibility. 43 cycles later, the first Vethkar scout ships entered the Sol system. They were organic vessels, grown rather than built. Each one was the size of a small moon. Their hulls pulsed with strange energies as they began scanning for resources. What they found surprised them. Instead of fleeing refugees or abandoned colonies, the scouts encountered a wall of metal and fire. The human Imperial fleet had assembled in full force. 3,000 warships formed a defensive line between Mars and Jupiter. Each vessel carried weapons that the Federation had never approved, technologies that humanity had developed in secret over decades. Admiral Sakura Yamamoto stood on the bridge of the flagship Prometheus. She was 60 years old with gray streaks in her black hair. She had spent her entire life preparing for a moment like this. Around her, officers worked at their stations with precise efficiency. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "Vethkar scouts are attempting to communicate. Standard predator assessment protocols." Yamamoto nodded. "They want to know if we are worth eating or worth avoiding. Let them look. Let them see exactly what we have prepared." The scouts observed for 3 days. They cataloged the human fleet's numbers, formation patterns, and energy signatures. They transmitted this data back to the main swarm. Then they withdrew. The response came quickly. The full Vethkar invasion force arrived 1 week later. It was a sight that would have broken the spirits of lesser species. Over 10,000 bioships emerged from hyperspace. Behind them came the hive carriers, enormous organic structures that held billions of drones. And at the center of the formation floated the swarm mother herself. She was larger than Earth's moon. Her body was ancient beyond measure. Admiral Yamamoto watched the enemy approach on her display screens. Her crew was silent. Fear was natural in such moments. But so was determination. "All ships," Yamamoto spoke into the fleet-wide channel. "This is your admiral. The Federation abandoned us. They called us expendable. They expected us to run or die. Today, we will prove them wrong." She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity has never been conquered. Not by nature, not by disease, not by our own worst impulses. We have climbed from the mud of Earth to the stars above. We have made the impossible possible again and again. The Vethkar see us as food. They do not understand what they face. The fleet's response was immediate. Every ship reported battle readiness. Every crew member accepted their duty. All vessels, engage at will. Show these creatures the wrath of humanity. The battle began with fire. Human warships launched the first coordinated strike in history against the Vethkar. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space. Railguns fired projectiles at incredible speeds. Laser batteries cut through organic hulls like surgical instruments. The Vethkar had expected easy prey. They found an enemy that fought back with terrifying precision. Their scout ships exploded by the dozens. Their assault carriers took heavy damage before reaching striking distance. But the swarm was vast. For every bioship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The Vethkar adapted quickly. They learned human attack patterns and adjusted their approach. Their own weapons began finding targets. Human vessels were torn apart by acid sprays and organic missiles. Admiral Yamamoto ordered the second phase. Stealth frigates, hidden behind sensor-blocking fields, decloaked behind the Vethkar lines. They carried payloads designed specifically for this enemy, biological weapons engineered from recovered Vethkar tissue samples, viruses that attacked their organic technology. The infected ships began dying from within. Their hulls rotted. Their weapons failed. The virus spread through physical contact, jumping from vessel to vessel. Panic spread through the swarm for the first time in its ancient history. The swarm mother herself entered the battle. She had not personally fought in over 5,000 years. Her psychic commands tried to rally her children. Her massive body began moving toward the human defensive line. Yamamoto had anticipated this moment. The Prometheus and its escort fleet broke formation. They accelerated directly toward the swarm mother. It was a suicide mission by any normal calculation. But humanity had never been normal. The Prometheus carried a weapon that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Project Titan was the result of 60 years of secret research. It was a dimensional disruption device. The science behind it was still not fully understood, but the effect was clear during testing. Reality itself could be torn apart in a controlled implosion. The Swarm Mother's defenders threw themselves at the human flagship. Yamamoto's escort ships sacrificed themselves to create an opening. One by one, they fell. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. The Prometheus reached optimal range. Yamamoto gave the final order. Project Titan activated. A sphere of impossible light erupted around the Swarm Mother. Space twisted and folded. Matter compressed to infinite density and then simply ceased to exist. When the effect ended, there was nothing left. The Swarm Mother and everything within 10,000 kilometers had been erased from existence. The Vethkar felt her death through their psychic connection. Every creature in the swarm experienced the agony of her ending. Their coordination broke down instantly. Ships collided with each other. Drones attacked their own kind in confusion. The human Imperial fleet pressed the advantage. They showed no mercy. Every Vethkar vessel was targeted and destroyed. The battle lasted 14 more hours. By the end, not a single enemy ship remained operational. Humanity had won. News of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Federation received the reports with disbelief. Their own analysts confirmed the data. A single species, denied all aid, had defeated an enemy that had destroyed empires. High Chancellor Varath requested an emergency meeting with Ambassador Chen Wei. The ambassador kept him waiting for 3 days before responding. When they finally spoke, Chen Wei's expression was cold. "High Chancellor, what does the Federation want?" Varath's scales were pale. He was terrified. "Ambassador, the Federation wishes to congratulate humanity on your incredible victory. We also wish to discuss terms for renewed cooperation." Chen Wei laughed. It was not a friendly sound. "Cooperation. When we begged for help, you offered us refugee camps. You were ready to watch our species become homeless. Now you want to cooperate?" "The Federation has much to offer humanity," Varath insisted. "Technology, trade agreements, political alliances. Together, our species can achieve great things." "The Federation had its chance," Chen Wei replied. "Humanity has learned an important lesson. We can only rely on ourselves. The human empire will continue to protect its own interests. Any future interaction with the Federation will be on our terms, not yours." Varath tried to protest, but Chen Wei ended the communication. He had nothing more to say to them. In the years that followed, humanity's status in the galaxy changed completely. The species that had been seen as young and weak was now recognized as a major power. Other civilizations sought treaties and alliances with the human empire. Many smaller species asked for protection, remembering how the Federation had failed. Admiral Yamamoto retired as the most celebrated hero in human history. The crews of the fallen ships were honored as martyrs. Their names were carved in the monuments on every human world. The Federation continued to exist, but its influence waned. Cracks appeared in the ancient alliance. Species that had once trusted the Federation began questioning its leadership. Why should they remain loyal to an organization that abandoned members in their hour of need? Chen Wei eventually became the first chancellor of the human empire. Under his leadership, humanity built new alliances based on mutual respect and genuine protection. He never forgot the lesson of the Vethkar War. The galaxy had learned something important about humanity. They were not just survivors. They were warriors who rose to meet impossible challenges. They were builders who created wonders from nothing. They were dreamers who refused to accept limitations. The Federation had denied them aid. The Imperial fleet had needed none. And that made all the difference.